Okay, this is Jacob Schmidt with deerhuntingschool.com. Looking at a area here. It's pretty unique area around a water, a huge or part of a lake, I guess, and then a pretty marshy looking area. And there's some unique features here. I'm looking for this. I'm looking at this aerial photo for someone. In one of the video for a video analysis. So, the first thing I realize about this area is there's probably going to be quite a bit of hunting pressure. So obviously, keep that in mind whenever you're looking at the area and thinking about, how the hunting pressure is. I don't know what times your hunting seasons are. But obviously, if there's any gun hunting allowed on this place, that's usually when the hunting pressure really ramps up. But I will say that there are some areas where these deer are likely to escape to. They're likely to use some of this marshy, really swampy stuff as that heavy gun pressure lines up. Another thing, the property line is pretty narrow down this side here of the actual available land to hunt here. It's pretty narrow right here, along these edges. And I think this is pretty marshy up through here, but that's pretty narrow. That could be overlooked. This area is all up through here, might be overlooked, by hunters. All this area, down up through here and stuff, because it's not a very big area. A lot of guys may overlook that and think, well, there's not going to be any deer there. If that's the case, them are very likely to, for deer to really pile up in there when the hunting pressure gets on. Okay, that's one key thing with when you're hunting places like this where there's a lot of people available to hunt it. You got to think about what are the areas that are overlooked. Obviously, when you go in and look and you see people hunting it and stuff. Actually, this picture should be took in hunting season, and I'm not sure what all these are in your access, but wherever the access points are, where people come in and park and stuff, you'll be able to see, on the roads, you'll just see how many people's parked up and down the roads and things. In areas like this, I want to look for the least amount of people, especially when the hunting pressure really ramps up. Now, the very beginning of the season, when there's not a whole lot of people hunting, bow season, there's some hunting pressure, but it's not near as much as when the gun hunting starts. That's, when you really need to look for them areas where there's very few people hunting. When you're doing your scouting, look for the areas with, not very many deer stands and stuff, and keep that things in mind. I will tell you that, for instance, I'm just going to show you a few things. Now, I do know that this has been recently, these are recent Clearcuts here, and I believe that's what it is. I believe this area down through here are recent Clearcuts, and that may not even be on the property line. But if it is, either way, it's not going to matter, because you can still hunt them even if they're not. But I think they're probably at least partially are. But you've got them Clearcuts there. Should be some good young trees, and I know we've got some strip pines here. So there's some logging going on. There's some strip pines here in this area here. So there's some logging going on. Should have some pretty good undergrowth in these areas. Quite a bit of food early season for the deer. Before the acorns start dropping. Once the acorns and stuff start dropping, they're going to naturally go over and begin feeding on the acorns and stuff in the area. That's going to be their preferred food source. But in the meantime, especially early, if there's not a lot of hunting season, or if these are overlooked, this area can really be become a hot spot. And there's a few key things that kind of stood out to me about this area. Let's just say if you get deer down in this area here, okay, I mean, unless they just go straight in, if a deer's coming from here, let's just say from area 1. I don't want to erase that. Let's just say from area 1. We're going to call this area 1. We're going to call this, up in, here area 2. Just for the heck of it. If a deer is coming, out of area 1 here and headed towards area 2, that deer is very likely to come and be funneled down pretty tight here, because it just can't just walk here, across the water, so it's going to be funneled by that water. Now obviously the deer can come up here and come through here, but this is going to be pretty thick. I believe you're going to have quite a few deer feeding there, and what was really caught my attention about that, this is a pretty narrow section right through here. Okay, pretty narrow section right here. In this area here is pretty narrow section of this band. Now I'm not sure what kind of trees them are. If them are oak trees, I don't think I was able to pull a older picture of a wintertime picture so that I could see what kind of trees these are. See, that's about the same date. Now there's a winter picture. Yeah, it looks like you've got a few oak trees in here. So when the acorns are on, you're probably going to have some deer feeding down in this area. And they may funnel up through this area on the edge of these clear cuts. Okay, and that is something that I think is going to go on. That's an area of interest to me. Here's a good winter picture. Yeah, there's definitely looks like there's some oak trees in the area right in there. So you're probably very likely to have some deer feeding in this area here. Okay, especially at night, and then they're likely to be funneled, back through here. But another thing that caught my eye about the spot is you've got the edge here, and then obviously you have the edge of the water. Okay, and then you have, so there's two edges there. So you've got one type of habitat, 2, and then 3 types of habitat. Okay, right in that area. But as deer, a lot of times, a deer will be feeding, especially your does. When the acorns are dropping. A lot of times once the acorns begin to drop, shortly after, the bucks will start doing their seeking. Excuse me, my dryer went off. The bucks will start doing their seeking and stuff not too long after the acorns drop. And then they'll still use these areas. They'll use these. He'll be, if he's coming from this area here, he may cross this little marshy area, come down. Now, obviously, he can walk through this thick stuff because it's thick, but the path of least resistance is here. Okay, but a lot of times the does will be feeding here at night because it's a bigger area, and they'll wander through and feed, and they'll wander their way back. They'll, and they could be bedding here or feeding, whichever. But even if they're feeding, a lot of times, if they're bedding or feeding, it doesn't matter. They'll wander their way, kind of mingle through as they feed along their way. That's what deer do. They're browsers. They don't just eat in one spot. They'll kind of move and kind of zigzag on their way, but they'll stay within that line. And I do believe this area here is possibly going to be a decent area. Now, in another area, I don't know what your regulations and stuff are. I know there's a building here. I don't know what it is. It could be a private. I don't know what it is, but I do believe that this is the land that you can hunt here, and that does the same thing. Here is sort of a funnel. Not a well-defined funnel like you would have if it was just huge opens, but I will tell you one thing: the lake is a definite funnel. Now the deer can swim across that, but they are very, they're going to be seriously trying to get away from something for that to happen. But you know, they can, but it's, you know, they're likely to be funneled through areas like this here. So them are good. Them are two good spots that I would check out. And any spot where you have, you know, like that, where it makes a outside turn, because if you have deer in this area and they're walking this way, they're going to follow that natural curve, and it's going to put them in that area. But this one, to me, them two really, they really stand out more because of the terrain here and the edge features that are provided. A lot of times on these clear cuts and stuff, if you've ever hunted many of them, you'll have a lot of deer activity on the edge. You'll have deer, even they'll feed out in the clear cuts when they're actually food sources, because a clear cut is basically, at some point in time, to the deer, are basically a food plot. They'll go from a food plot, as you see here in 2005 here, these are just trees, so they cut it from 2005 to 2009 somewhere. And I don't know when, you know, exactly they cut all this. And then they cut this area here in between December 2008, so New Year's Eve of 2008, and December the next year. So they cut this sometime up here in 2009. So at that point, in 2010, these become huge food plots, basically, for the deer. Natural food plots. Okay, natural young growth grows up and things, but the deer, they'll feed out in there a lot, but a lot of times you'll see a ton of deer tracks and stuff on the edges of these areas. I mean, the deer, you know, they may come out of the woods and then they'll walk down the edge a lot, you know, and that is one reason that this area really stands out to me, because if a deer does come out to the edge and walks down the edge, now obviously I know this has probably grown back quite a bit now, and it's probably actually more of a bedding area now, because it's probably pretty thick by now, and the deer have probably begun to bed there. But even then, they seem to, you know, bed here and then come out and still walk the edge. So you've got that going on, plus the deer are using this as a natural funnel. The lake is definitely funneling them on the outside of the lake. So you've got that going on for that spot. Same thing here behind this building going on. Now when you get up in here, you know, it obviously gets wider up in here. So that's, you know, them two spots there I would definitely look at. And I don't know what you're going to be hunting with. If you're going to be hunting with a gun, you know, you may, you know, not want to be too close to this building. But a bow and arrow, I would feel safe, you know, hunting. I would, you know, feel safe hunting here, you know, as long as it's legal. You need to check your regulations and stuff like that. But them are two areas I would check out there on that. And if them are, you know, if these here are overlooked areas, because a lot of people may say, well, there's no deer down there, you know, there's a building here, it's too small of an area. That's a lot of times them are overlooked, so you may check that out. There's going to be deer, probably, you know, quite a few numbers of deer in these stripped areas. These areas out here have been logged. Really looks like there should probably be some high number of deer in this area. Now, you know, obviously in the rut there's probably going to be quite a few bucks, but if there's a lot of guys hunting this, there's probably not going to be a lot of big bucks except for during the rut, and there'll be a few, you know, bucks pass through and stuff looking for does, and can definitely be killed. Now, if this area is being overlooked, there are going to be quite a few bucks in there. But I know that one email you said this was a hot spot up in this area here, up this creek. You said that was a hunter hot spot. I don't know if you mean it's a lot of deer hot spot, but a lot of times, I try to avoid them areas as far as hunting. If there's a lot of hunters, and I want to think of, what's going to happen to them deer when I have, I don't know how big this area is, but when I have a whole bunch of hunters headed into an area, where are them deer going to go? Because there's going to be deer there. If this gets gun hunted, and these guys come piling in this area, opening morning, them deer are going to be getting out of there. Okay, and there's some funnels that these deer are going to be using. Okay, one, and you can hunt these funnels, but you need to also think about where the deer are going to go, because what's going to happen. As guys begin to come in these areas and stuff, these deer are going to get the heck out of there. Okay, and they're going to take these areas. They're going to take the escape routes, and they're going to basically, depending on how much rain you've had, these deer are really heavily going to be funneled down this area. This is a hill. It's not an unwalkable hill by any means, but it is a hill. It drops down right there, something like that. And there's this creek. And when y'all have had a lot of rain, this all floods here. And when that's flooded, these deer are really going to be funneled down through this area because of the hill and the edge of the water. Okay, they're really going to be funneled down through there. And that's basically the same thing that's going on down here by the lake. When you get, let's zoom in here, okay, and I know I'm going to be moving it around a little bit, but let me zoom out just a little bit. When you get, deer in, this area here, whether they're bedded, feeding or whatever, obviously the deer can come this way, but if that deer's coming from here, I need to move it a little bit, I'm sorry. But let me zoom out just a little bit more. If that deer's coming from, point, we're just going to say point 1 to point 2 here, that deer's definitely going to, follow this edge of this creek that's running up through here like this, that zigzags and stuff. If a deer's in here, it's going to come out and be funneled by that creek. Okay, these are areas where them outside bends. Let me erase that where you can see it. It's tougher to see on this map. I didn't want to do this on the other map, the Bing map, because it doesn't. It shows what this is, and I'm trying to keep it from being shown. It discloses, but you see these zigzags on this creek, okay? And I can't see it right here, but it still looks like it keeps zigzagging, and even plumb up into here. Okay, and all this mostly seems like swampy. These outer zigzags right here, like right there. Right here, then we're going to funnel deer, because if deer get in this area for whatever reason, or if this deer's here and he's walking, this is a hill, right, edge of a hill right in here that runs like that, and you can see it on the topo map. I looked at it on topo map, and I mean, it may not run perfect like that, but these areas on them outside bends of that creek, or it bends towards that hill, are going to funnel them deer through that area. During the rut, if them are not hunted real heavy, them could be some hot spots. Okay, it can even be hot spots for does if coming from bedding to feeding. And then no different on the other side here. Okay, this outside bow here. Okay, this here, and then how you have this tree line and this little point that comes out in there. That's a good looking spots right there. Them are what you want to check out. And one thing that a lot of people miss when they're looking at aerial photos, they want to find that one key spot. They want to find that one spot. Find the one spot where the deer is. Find the one spot where the buck is. That's the wrong way to go about it. The best way to go about it is to find a few good-looking spots, okay, or a few possibility spots. What I usually do when I'm always looking for buck spots. Always. I've got enough doe spots pegged out. I can tag out on does if I wanted. So I'm basically to the point now. All I basically do is scout buck spots. But what I'll do is I'm looking at aerial photos and I pick. Okay, here's a spot. I'll mark that, dude. I usually drop a marker there in an area like this, and then I'll say, okay, well, here's a possible spot. Okay, and actually, in reality, when this is not flooded, if this is passable and you can get in here, this is a very good looking spot. If you can walk this area out in here, this is a very good looking spot, because this here looks to me like it stays somewhat wet, muggy, nasty, and if that is, that's going to funnel them deer between this outside bend. It would actually be an outside bend to the other direction. Okay, so you've got some possibilities to look at, and you want to go in and I'll look. Okay, I have one spot here, I have a spot here, and I have a spot here that I want to look at. Okay, and them aren't the only, all of them, but you had the other two down there I showed you down this way. Okay, and then you've got, one here. Okay, and there's some more I'm going to talk about here briefly. I always want to pick key locations that look good. That's what you do on aerial photo. It's almost, I have picked many of very good buck stands on aerial photo, but the problem was I usually had to go through 2 or 3 before I found one really good one. And what happens most of the time is, I'll pick more of a broad area. This will be one area I'll look at, okay? And then I'll look at a bigger area here. And what usually happens is the timing is different. This area here may be good. I'm just using this for example. I'm not saying that that's when this is going to be good, but this area may be good for early bow season. Okay, early bow. Where this area here may be good for late rut, okay, or middle of the rut, the breeding phase or something, okay, where, I'm just putting a circle out in the middle of nowhere. I'm just random circle here. This area here might be early rut, and then this area right here might be, a different time. And I'll have 4 areas. They're all really good, and then that's when you got to get the timing down. Okay, but I'm going to just point out some key areas I would look at and explain, why. Okay, but like I said, if this area out here can be walked, I would be interested in hunting back in here and crossing that creek somehow. If you have to get waders or whatever and cross that creek and hunt on the inside, because what's going to happen most likely, you're going to have a lot of hunters out here. You're going to have guys hunting out here all over the place. Okay, and if there's water on this creek right here, if there's water in that, it's going to stop them hunters, and they're going to hunt all out through here, but they won't hunt back in this area because they don't want to cross the water. Okay, so if you can walk that and there's a water barrier, these areas back in here, that's going to cause a funnel, especially if this is water, which it looks like it is. And I don't know how much rain you've had. It could be dry as can be right now. It depends on the weather. But if this is water and this is water, you've got a funnel right through here, and it's and all these hunters are going to push them deer into here. They're going to push them out into this swamp. I can bet money on it. Now you may have a guy or two hunting back in here in this swampy area, but it's going to be a lot less people's going to hunt this. And same thing goes over here. Okay, you're probably going to have guys hunting this. It's worth checking out because you may not. You may have some prime hunting, and these areas are probably pretty good doe areas. You know, coming up through here as these deer are funneled, you're going to have deer, you know, all up in this area, and as they come through, they're going to be funneled around this water. Okay, and we're going to look at it when it's flooded here in a minute. Now, one other thing that really interested me about this area up in here was these islands. These islands right here. There's water. It looks like there's water nearly all the way around that. That's what it looks like here. You know, that this is water here, and then you have this island that runs through here with water on here. Okay, them may be very difficult to get to, but you know, them could possibly be some really good buck areas. You know, I would get in there at some time and check them out. But there's numerous islands up through there, and you'll have to look and see which ones you can access, which ones you can't. You know, and check that out. But I'll tell you another thing that I think some people will overlook are these points that run out into this marsh. See that there? That is a point. And it may run like that, but that's a point that runs out in there. A lot of times the deer will, you know, come in here and they'll feed. You know, if you're here, let's just say if you're here, now this is an example, okay? And there's a bunch of these. You can look at them, you'll see there's going to be a bunch of these out through there. Okay, deer are feeding out in here. You know, and you got, you know, you get to your stand and your stand's here. And you're there, you know, and you're set there ready an hour before daylight. And you come through and deer, you know, they're mingling all through here. And then you have most hunters will come in right at daylight. They're just push the deer out. They're just pushing the deer out into this marsh and stuff. Well, these deer know all they got to do is get out of their way. They may mingle their way just a little bit and give you a shot in the daylight, right back on these points. And that's something that I would definitely check out. Are all these points, every one of them. There's one here. There was one right down here that I showed you. I'll show you some more, but I want to switch to pin, but let me go to normal. And I don't know where the property line is, but there's one right here. There's one of these points here. Okay, that comes out into that marshy looking area. And then you got all these islands. I mean, it's, and I don't know how far this goes up in, but this is not really a point, but it's kind of a high spot that runs and connects this land, this dry area, to this dry area. This is really wet, so there should be water a lot of times. And then this connects it. That's a funnel. When this is flooded, you know, and this is something that may not happen this year. This area right here may not be hot this year because this may be enough where deer can walk right across. It may be dry where deer are walking across this and bedded out in here and everything. But check this right here out. And this could be off the thing, but I just want to show you. It'll teach you something when you're hunting areas like this anyways, if it is off. But if it's not off, I want to show you something here. Let's go back because it's flooded, really hot and heavy here. And in the future, it's going to flood again. Okay? Boom. Now this is obviously flooded bad. Okay? But when this isn't flooded quite this bad, them deer can use, you know, come through here and go from dry land to dry land, and this will be their funnel. And even when this is flooded this bad, this is a little bit higher ground. Them deer may actually walk through that water in this area. You know, obviously you may not want to get out there in a deer stand, you know, and hunt right here, but that would make, you know, this area a good spot if the deer are walking through this. You know, this might be an area, and you can catch the deer coming in and out of that as, you know, hunters push them through and push them out into this. But this here looked like it was severely flooded. But when it's lightly flooded, this is going to be an area that's really, you know, really interest me. Okay, and there's definitely, you know, you have the creek that winds through here, and them outside corners, you know, bam here, boom, there's one there, boom, there's one there, there's one right there, there's a funnel right here. See, this comes in bends, boom, right there. Deer coming out of here and stuff come right through there to get over to here or whatever. Boom, there's one right there. You want to check them dudes out. Okay, these corners, this creek is bending. Okay, it's great if, let me erase that. You've got this corner, boom, you set your stand pretty dang close to that bend of that creek, and you can blow the scent right in here. The deer coming through here, they, without swimming, they can't get downwind of you. Okay, and your scent's blowing out into this swamp. Yeah, there's probably deer out there at times that could wind you, but you're hunting these deer that are coming through. Okay, and them are your spots that you know, where, you know, you catch the wind like this. Okay, and then, you know, obviously, let's say you have a wind like that, and this isn't flooded. Way this is right now, there's somewhere you can cross this dude. You could put you a stand on one of these bends like this, and you can blow that direction. Okay, as these deer come through like this, they can't get downwind of you without swimming water. Doesn't mean that they can't, but they're less likely to do that if they're just relaxed deer that are just moving through. Or even deer that are pushed by other hunters, they're probably not going to swim that creek. They're probably going to take the path of least resistance, and, you know, come out of here to get over to here. You know, if they're pressured really bad here, these deer are going to hit this swamp area, and they're going to use these funnels, you know, to get over here, especially if this is less pressured. Okay. If that makes sense to you. And then I think we may be getting, yeah, I really, yeah, I really think that this is part of your hunting land. I really do. So, you know, these are areas that you're probably going to have a lot of hunting pressure, because it looks like there's a road right here. Looks like you're probably going to have quite a bit of hunting pressure all up through here because it's close to the road. Doesn't mean that, you know, well, the road runs back in here, you know. If you can get away from everybody else, you're going to have some good hunting in this area, I believe, especially when you get up in here and in hunting pressure. And these islands, like I said, they're everywhere, and these points are all over the place. Okay, I said I was going to show them, and I was showing them, and I got on this area here. Okay, but you have, you know, this point here, you've got this point right here, another one right here, you've got one right here. Deer are probably not going to come out into this, but anyways, you've got a point right here. And you've got this creek. Could be a funnel right there. Where that water connects with that point, very likely be funneling deer. All these bows in this creek, either side of it, Um, you know, when these deer are pressured coming in here, they're going to hit these, come out on these points a lot, and then they'll head out into this swamp. When this is, somewhat dry, and these deer are coming up through here, and trust me, they'll walk chest deep water, no problem. Out into these areas. If they're pressured, they're going to be out in here. And that's where these, most likely, they're going to bed on these islands. It's very risky in an area like this to do what I'm fixing to tell you, but these deer are going to bed on them islands, especially when there's a little bit of water here and they can get out to that island, and they feel safe. They're going to bed there. It's risky getting in there hunting them. You have to get in there early before the deer are. But when if it's rifle season, open them more in rifle season. If you can find one of these islands that there's deer bedding on, especially if there's big bucks bedding on them, you get in there early enough. He comes in and beds on there. You're already there before him. Boom, you can get the shot at him right then. And what was risky about it, the most risky thing I was going to say, to find out, you can set trail cameras on there in the off season to find out if there's bucks bedding on there, and if you're after a big buck, you can find out if there's a big buck in the area like that. But the risky part is one, someone stealing it, which is probably unlikely on this. But the main risky part is the dang thing flooding and ruining your camera. So them islands are definitely something I would check out in my arsenal, or I say arsenal, in my hunting plans and my locations. I'm going to have a few of these islands, or at least one or two of these islands ready to hunt. Which ones I can get to. I believe this is part of the area you can hunt. I'm going to have me a stand location in here somewhere. I'm going to have me a stand location, if you can get in there. I want me a stand location on the back side of this creek. I want to get on this side of this creek. I want to cross that water. And these are buck spots. Them are going to be my buck spots. My doe spots, I'm going to try to harvest the doe early. I really think that your doe spots, I really think you'll have enough success around these clear cuts if you start hunting it early in the season. I think you'll have some success around these clear cuts. And you get, you get in these areas here, like I talked about, I think you'll have some success right in there. I really do, because these clear cuts and stuff are just massive bedding. First of all, clear cuts evolve. I mean, they go from nothing, useless to deer, because it's nothing but dirt. They'll go from dirt to a huge natural food plot with a huge variety of food. And then in a few years goes by, or maybe a little longer than a few years, 4 or 5 years goes by, they go to a bedding area and a food source all at the same time. And when I'm hunting a lot of clear cuts and there's been a lot of logging activity and stuff, that's where I usually find my bucks early season. Is in them type of clear cuts there, where it's a bedding and food source at the same time. That's where I usually find the bucks. I just do. I mean, the ones that go to pure bedding, doesn't seem like the bucks hold in there a lot. They'll hold in around just the pure food ones, but they don't seem like they're in there in the daytime. And there's different strategies to hunt them, but the ones with the bedding and the food, there's different strategies to hunt them. There's just endless amount of ways to go in and hunt them. You just have to be unique and look for unique things. But you know, like this one here. Don't know, but yeah, like this one here. If that's what's going on here, if there's bucks bedding and feeding out into this clear cut here, you know, an area that I would look for is this point where it runs out here. Okay, where you have this point that comes out into that thing. Getting up in a tree high on that point is an area where you look at, because these bucks, a lot of times they just mingle through this stuff. They'll feed a little while, bed down. Mingle through, feed a little while, bed down. You know, early season stuff. Mingle a little while, bed down. You know, but when he mingles a little while right through this area, bam, you got a shot at him. But you know, the clear cuts evolve, and then they'll go from the where they're just strictly bedding, or they're bedding and feeding, where you've got deer bedding in them and feeding in them, to strictly bedding area, and then they'll go back into strictly forest, where they're only good they are for deer is if there's oak trees in there that are producing acorns, and then they go back to, you know, the loggers come in and strip them, which starts the cycle over again. You'll have feeding area, bedding area, it's a non-ending circle. Awesome habitat for deer hunting if you understand how to hunt it. So I really think your email said you was really looking for you know, meat hunting, and I really think you can get that around these clear cuts, especially early in the season. Now, I do think that a lot of other guys realize that there's some good meat hunting around these clear cuts. I could be mistaken, but I think that you're going to have that. You're going to have a lot of guys hunting these clear cuts. But early in the season, especially opening day or so, there's going to be hot. These little funnels coming out of this area is going to be hot, but them deer get out in that clear cut and they'll just lay down. You know, in another area that might be, you know, this little area right here, as these deer come out to get out of here to head for that swamp, when the pressure's on, as they come out of here, they're going to head, they may cut through this area here, headed for this swamp, and they're going to get out on them islands, I believe. The other area that I was talking about, that is what I said, that area had some huge potential, because they had a bunch of large islands where, you know, the deer had everything they need. They had bedding, food. These little bitty islands here, they may have a little food. They've got water, but them other, you know, these deer here have to come off this island and come out here to feed. The other area I was talking about is basically like this. It's got tons of funnels. It has, between the islands and stuff, you know, and they're not, it's just awesome looking. The other area I talked about on this area here that I sent you in the email, it had tons of unbelievable habitat. I mean, this has potential. You said you was meat hunting. I mean, you've got logging going all over you, and when you have that, you're going to have deer numbers. There's no doubt about it. You've got all this area here has been stripped. Now, I don't think you can hunt this, but there's deer there. You've got a clear cut right here. Looks like there's a creek runs through the middle of it. There's deer there. It looks like this here has been thinned sometime. There's deer there. This has been stripped. Deer there. This area here is part of it, and it's no different. You have the outside bins and stuff. If a deer's here, it comes up, it's likely be funneled through this area. It looks like, you know, I can see the ground here, so this is going to be some thick area. Looks like they've thinned it. I see a lot of trees laying down. You're going to have deer numbers, anyways. So don't think, and yet one question you'd ask, does it seem like it's too close to population? Oh dear, absolutely not. In reality, all this stuff here is a lot of these people are not going to be hunters and stuff, and a lot of them are going to have feeders and stuff like that, and there's going to be tons of deer in this neighborhood. In reality, some of the best hunting is going to be right next to this neighborhood. And I don't know where the property line is where you can hunt, but you could even, if you can hunt it, get up inside this neighborhood right in here with a bow, and there's going to be tons of deer in here, in all this area down in here. Human populations, whitetails adapt to it, and they thrive in there. So there's definitely not too many humans. Now the hunting pressure was that the only reason I'd asked you about this area was because it didn't have a lot of size. I wasn't sure. I know it's anybody can hunt it, and I wasn't sure how many people were hunting it. And I found the other area that I was talking about just a second ago that absolutely looked like a big buck spot to me, a big buck area. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope everyone else enjoyed the video. I hope it helps you out. If you have any questions on any of this here, feel free to email me, and I will do my best to clarify what I mean. So Jimmy, like I said, if you have any questions, just email me, and I'll do my best to clarify it. And you said your buddy was going to put you on a food plot around in here somewhere or whatever. That may be an idea. But I definitely think that if you'll get in and check these areas out that I showed you, you will have some success, and you should have good deer numbers in this area. Remember, try to stay away from the bulk of the hunters. Look for, when you're hunting area where anybody can hunt it, the thing is try to get away from the hunters, because that's what the deer are going to do. They're just going to try to get away from the hunters. So if you can do that, you're going to be where the deer are, because that's what they're trying to do, is get away from the hunters. And a lot of times that doesn't mean, that you have to go, 50 miles out in the wilderness to do that. The deer's not going to leave their home range. They're just going to find areas where people can't get to them and where they're safe. So, like I said, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope everyone else did. Jimmy, if you have any questions, email me, and I'll do my best to clarify it, like I said. And good luck to you. If you have any other areas you want me to look at or anything, or anyone else, I have the video analysis. What this here is. Thank you, and good luck to you. And if you kill a nice deer, send me an email and a picture of it. I'd like to see, or even a doe. I like seeing does too. Everybody's stuck on bucks. I'm a buck hunter, but I still like seeing does. So appreciate everybody. Thank you, Jimmy, and good luck to you, buddy. Bye-bye.